Hey everyone, welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Alyssa Ashe. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Appreciate each and every single one of you. Wanted to first shout out those in the YouTube chat and in the Facebook chat as well. Right now, wanted to really thank our moderators, Real Frank in Florida over on the YouTube chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. And some of our members are here as well. JC, History B, and Zoom, and let's see who else is here. Adeline Marie Robinson, thank you for joining. Duke Moneagle. And some of our regulars. Oh, the Millers are here as well. And Mike and British Patriot, James Allen, Light Switch. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate each and every single one of you. And over on Facebook, just going to shout out some first names. Mary, Stacy, Rita, Susan, Kevin, Sharon, and Nancy, and Delary. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Now, if this is your first nightly news recap, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Basically, I'm just going to highlight some of the main stories of the day, business, world, political, national stories. And of course, also, we are preparing for our different rallies. We're traveling this week to two different President Trump rallies. The first one is on Thursday in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the second one is on Friday in Springfield, Missouri. So pretty soon in the broadcast, I'll be sharing just some more details of those rallies with you guys. I know you ask a lot of questions about, how expensive it is and how we get there. And we're really a transparent company. So pretty soon I will be sharing those details with you guys. But first, we are going to go through some of the main stories of the day. And of course, if you have any stories at all that I may have missed, send them my way on Twitter at Alyssa RSBN. That would be super appreciated, and I'll be able to share those all with you. So first, we're going to kind of start out with how China is firing back on the United States. As you know, President Trump planned levies on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. And so now, according to Reuters, China is now adding $60 billion of U.S. products to its import tariff list in retaliation to President Trump planning these levies of $200 billion on Chinese goods. And the tit-for-tat measures are the latest escalation in an increasing protracted trade dispute between the world's two largest economies. So on Monday, the U.S. administration said it will begin to levy new tariffs on 10% on about $200 billion of Chinese products on September 24th, with the new tariffs to go up to 25% by the end of 2018. And the Finance Ministry said on a statement on its website today, China is forced to respond to U.S. unilateralism and trade protectionism and has no choice but to respond with its own tariffs. And Beijing will impose levies on 5,207 U.S. products, ranging from liquefied natural gas to certain types of aircrafts, as well as cocoa powder and frozen vegetables, at 5 and 10% instead of the previously proposed rates of 5, 10, and 25%, the Finance Ministry said. Also, we wanted to shout out, just got a $20 donation from Man on the Moon, who says, thank you, Right Side. Thank you so much, Man on the Moon. Really appreciate you. That will definitely help us get to our next rallies. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you. So both countries' tariffs come into force on September 24th. And so far, the United States has imposed tariffs on $50 billion worth of Chinese products to pressure China to make sweeping changes to its trades, technology transfer, and high-tech industrial subsidy policies. And Beijing has retaliated in kind, but some analysts and American businesses are concerned that it could resort to other measures, such as pressuring U.S. companies operating in China. And while both sides said they were open to talks, President Trump launched a Twitter broadside at China, accusing Beijing of targeting rural voters who had supported his presidency by hitting agricultural goods. And President Trump wrote, "China has openly stated that they are actively trying to impact and change our election by attacking our farmers, ranchers, and industrial workers because of their loyalty to me." And we will look at all of his tweets from the entire day a little bit later in the broadcast. So it wasn't clear what statement from Beijing President Trump was referring to in his post. In a short video published this summer by Beijing had suggested that farmers would not vote for President Trump if their incomes were hurt by his trade policies. Now, President Trump warned on Monday that if China takes retaliatory action against U.S. farmers or industries, we will immediately pursue Phase 3, which is tariffs on approximately $267 billion of additional imports. So, a senior Chinese securities market official said U.S. trade actions will fail as China has ample fiscal and monetary policy tools to cope with the impact. The government has already been ramping up spending on infrastructure. And Fang Xinghai, a vice chairman of China's securities regulator, said at a conference in the port city of Tianjin, President Trump is a hard-hitting businessman, and he tries to put pressure on China so he can get concessions from our negotiations. I think that kind of tactic is not going to work in China. And President Trump's latest escalation of tariffs on China comes after several rounds of talks yielded no progress. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin last week invited top Chinese officials to discussions, and in light of the U.S. action, China is reviewing plans to send a delegation to Washington for new talks. And the South China Morning Post reported on Tuesday, citing a government source in Beijing. So the Wall Street Journal reported that Beijing was considering sending Vice Commerce Minister Wang Xiaodong to trade talks this month, but not Vice Premier Liu He, a senior official who is close to China's president. And U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said on Tuesday the next step on holding constructive negotiations was up to China. And Ross told CNBC, so the question about whether or when to have a discussion is very importantly in their ballpark. And Fang told the Tianjin Forum that he hopes the two sides can sit down and talk, but added that the latest U.S. move has poisoned the atmosphere. And the European Union trade chief said tariff issues between the two should be resolved through the World Trade Organization. The EU and the United States have declared a truce in their own trade dispute while they negotiate. Now, European Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmström told reporters trade wars are not good and they are not easy to win. And this escalation is, of course, very unfortunate. And China's currency slipped against the dollar on Tuesday after the news of U.S. measures. It has weakened to about 6% since mid-June, offsetting the 10% tariff rate by a considerable margin. And U.S. stock markets opened higher, and the NASDAQ index was up 1% by mid-morning. So while we are talking about China, have some more Chinese news for you from Fox News that China has a chilling system to control everyone. So this is from Fox News, and I believe it came out today. So China's chilling dictatorship is moving quickly to introduce social scorecards in which all citizens will be monitored 24/7 and actually ranked on their behavior. The Communist Party's plan is for every one of its 1.4 billion citizens to be at the whim of a dystopian social credit system, and it's on track to be fully operational by the year 2020. So an active pilot program has already seen millions of people each assigned a score out of 800 and either reap its benefits or suffer its consequences depending on which end of the scale they sit. Now, under the social credit scheme, points are lost and gained based on readings from a sophisticated network of 200 million surveillance cameras, a figure set to triple in 18 months. And the program has been enabled by rapid advances in facial recognition, body scanning, and geo-tracking. So the data is combined with information collected from individuals' government records, including medical and educational, along with their financial and internet browsing histories. And overall scores can go up and down in real time, dependent on the person's behavior, but they can also be affected by the person they associate with. So the ABC reports, if your best friend or dad says something negative about the government, you'll lose points too. Now, the mandatory social credit system was first announced in 2014 in a bid to reinforce the notion that keeping trust is glorious and breaking trust is disgraceful, according to a government document. Now, in a foreign correspondent episode to the air on the ABC Tonight, financial credit system Alipay, Tianjin General Manager Ji Kong summarized the system in black and white. He said, if people keep their promises, they can go anywhere in the world. And if people break their promises, they won't be able to move an inch. Now, under the system, those deemed to be top citizens are actually rewarded bonus points. So the benefits of being ranked on the higher end of the scale includes waived deposits on hotels and rental cars, VIP treatment at airports, discounted loans, priority job applications, and fast tracking to the most prestigious universities. Now, Dandin, who is a young mother and marketing professional, is proud of her high score. If she keeps it up, her infant son will be more likely to get into a top school. And she said, China likes to experiment in the creative way. I think people in every country want a stable and safe society. She said, we need a social credit system. We hope we can help each other, love each other, and help everyone to become prosperous. Now, of course, I want to know, what do you guys think about this? Do you think that America should have a social credit system? Do you think it's crazy that people are being treated differently based on the way they behave and, you know, they get different privileges? What do you think about that? Also, wanted to shout out, we just got a $50 donation from Cindy Hoffman. Thank you so much for that, Cindy. She says, what is not to love about RSBN? My hope someday is for President Trump to give you a shout out. I hope so too, Cindy. That would be absolutely fantastic. Hopefully that can happen at our next rally this week. But thank you for that generous donation. That's definitely going to help us get to these rallies this week. So it does not take much, going back to this Fox News article about the Chinese social credit system, it doesn't take much to end up on the wrong side of the scale with an estimated 10 million people already paying the price of a low rating. Jaywalking, late payments on bills or taxes, buying too much alcohol, or speaking out against the government each cost citizen points. And other mooted punishable offenses include spending too long playing video games, wasting money on frivolous purchases, and posting on social media, according to Business Insider. So penalties range from losing the right to travel by plane or train, social media account suspensions, and being barred from government jobs. And Chinese journalist Li Hu is one of millions who already amassed a low social credit rating. Li Hu was arrested, jailed, and fined after he exposed official corruption. He said to ABC, "The government regards me as an enemy." And he's now banned from traveling by plane or fast train. His social media accounts with millions of followers have been suspended, and he struggles to find work. And he said this kind of social control is against the tide of the world. The Chinese people's eyes are blinded and their ears are blocked. They know little about the world and are living in an illusion. And 17 people who refused to carry out military service were last year barred from enrolling in higher education, applying for high school, or continuing their studies, the Beijing News reported. And Tahir Hamut, who is a poet and filmmaker, fled to the U.S., told the ABC that China's surveillance system suddenly ramped up after the end of 2016. And he said since then, advanced surveillance technology, which we've never seen, never experienced, never heard of, started appearing. And also wanted to shout out, we just got a $1.99 donation from Steve Nissy, State to State Interior Painter. Thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate you. And it looks like everyone can come to you for those painting needs. Thank you so much for that sweet donation. And yes, Mark TR just said this social system sounds scary. Yes, it definitely does. I don't like it at all and do not want to see anything like it in the US. And yes, Kathy Dillon, I see your comment. So now Ford won't appear unless there is an FBI investigation. So that actually just came out just a few minutes ago. And going to go through some information on Politico with you guys. For those of you that don't know, the big news from yesterday and even this weekend was how Judge Kavanaugh has been accused of sexual misconduct by Christine Blasey Ford back when he was in high school, which is completely ridiculous. She doesn't have any evidence, and Dianne Feinstein knew about this for weeks, but she held on to it for weeks and released this bombshell right before he was supposed to be confirmed Thursday. Well, now a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee has been set to Monday, where Judge Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford can both come out and testify. But now she's saying that she doesn't want to appear in court until the FBI investigates her claims of sexual assault against Kavanaugh. So we are going to go through the latest update from this story, and this is from Politico. So Christine Blasey Ford is pushing for an independent investigation into her allegations that the Supreme Court nominee sexually assaulted her while they were both in high school. Christine Blasey Ford told Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley Tuesday night that she would like the FBI to investigate her claims of sexual assault against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, potentially upending Republican plans to have a hearing featuring Ford and Kavanaugh on Monday. And Ford's attorneys wrote in a letter first obtained by CNN to Grassley, a full investigation by law enforcement officials will ensure that the crucial facts and witnesses in this matter are assessed in a nonpartisan manner, and that the committee is fully informed before conducting any hearing or making any decisions. Now, Ford's push for an independent investigation into her allegations that Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her while they were both in high school mirrors some Senate Democrats who have asked for the FBI or an independent counsel to investigate the claims instead of having senators trying to suss out the truth through a hearing. And Kavanaugh has repeatedly denied Ford's allegations. He says that he was not even at that party. He's never done such a thing to anyone, her or anyone. Now, Ford's attorneys also said that her life has been upended since she made the decision to come forward on Sunday night, saying she has been the subject of death threats, her family has been forced to relocate, and her email has been hacked. And the letter says Dr. Ford has received a stunning amount of support from her community and from fellow citizens across the country. At the same time, her worst fears have been materialized. Now, the original story in case you missed it, the GOP senators are pressing ahead with a public hearing next week on Christine Blasey Ford's sexual assault allegation against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, despite not yet getting her agreement to testify. A key witness in Ford's decades-old allegation, Kavanaugh's high school classmate Mark Judge, said Tuesday he would prefer not to testify. And Judge, who Ford says was the third person in the room when Kavanaugh assaulted her, said in a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee that I have no more information to offer the committee and I do not wish to speak publicly regarding the incidents. And Ford, who has accused Kavanaugh of assaulting her while both were in high school, had not confirmed her appearance at the hearing as of Tuesday afternoon, according to top Republicans. But GOP lawmakers are vowing to proceed regardless on Monday, as Democrats slam what they describe as a rush process designed to push Kavanaugh through to confirmation. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters Tuesday that Ford would have the opportunity to be heard, whether in public or private, and that he's not concerned about the matter unraveling Kavanaugh's nomination. Indeed, one of the critical Republicans remaining undecided on Kavanaugh suggested that he wouldn't oppose moving ahead on the confirmation if Ford decides to forego testimony. And this was Senator Jeff Flake from Arizona. He said, I don't know how they can say I'm just not going to appear. She has the option of a closed session with cameras or without. We want her to appear. And then she has said before we made the decision that she wanted to appear. So that's what we want. And he said this after he and other Judiciary Committee Republicans met with McConnell for nearly an hour. And Flake said she's asked to come and testify. She needs to be heard. I hope she comes. Now, Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, a former Judiciary Chairman, said, I think the hearing would proceed even if Ford chooses not to accept the invitation to testify. And Judge wrote a memoir that discusses his binge drinking while in high school, and another book that features a character named Bart O'Kavanaugh drinking heavily, but his resistance to speaking further about what Ford has alleged was an assault fueled by alcohol abuse likely closes the door to any appearance before the Judiciary panel, since Republicans would be able to defeat any Democratic attempt to subpoena Judge's testimony. Now, Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley of Iowa said his staff has reached out to Ford's camp several times since the California-based professor came forward with her story of a high school-era assault by President Donald Trump's high court pick. Although Ford's attorney, Deborah Katz, said her client would be open to a fair proceeding, it remains unclear whether she would agree to the planned hearing Monday that Republicans have set up to help save Kavanaugh's nomination. And one Kavanaugh ally said Katz, a well-respected veteran of high-profile sexual misconduct cases, has tried to impose some serious conditions on Ford's testimony. It was unclear what those conditions might be. And Katz's firm, Katz, Marshall, and Banks, did not return a request for comment on whether Ford had agreed to testify. But Grassley said later on Tuesday that Ford still hadn't contacted his panel. He said, we have not heard from her. Now, Taylor Foy, a spokesman for Grassley on the committee, said our staff reached out to Dr. Ford's lawyer with multiple emails yesterday to schedule a similar call and inform her of the upcoming hearing where she will have the opportunity to share her story with the committee. Her lawyer has not yet responded. And Republicans have billed the public hearing as an opportunity for both Kavanaugh and Ford to share their sides of the story. GOP leaders made that decision under pressure from undecided members of their conference, chiefly Flake, who said he would vote against Kavanaugh in the committee unless senators were given more of a chance to hear from Ford. And Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska said, we have a woman who has come forward. She deserves to be heard. It's important that her voice and her story is shared. Now, if Ford ultimately opts out of the opportunity to testify, Republicans suggested they plan to move forward with a Kavanaugh-only hearing. And Democrats had received no new commitments from Ford as of Tuesday morning. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer pushed back hard on the fast turnaround of the hearing and called for testimony from judge. And Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, a Judiciary Democrat, said he would attend a hearing if it's just Kavanaugh, but is also pushing for far more, including an appearance from judge. And Coons said, "I do not think we will be meeting the test of a full and fair hearing without Mark Judge present, without Dr. Ford present, and without the FBI doing an expanded background check. There are questions to ask of Kavanaugh now. I do hope Dr. Ford comes forward and is treated respectfully." Now, if Ford and her lawyer ultimately opt out of the GOP's public hearing invitation, Democrats have skipped a staff-level call with Kavanaugh on the matter, casting doubt on their participation. Republicans would face another tough decision on whether to press ahead with the nomination. And after Democrats declined to participate, Republican staff members interviewed Kavanaugh on Monday evening, and Foy said the nominee was forthright and candid. One top Republican on Judiciary, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, said Monday night that he expects the committee to push for a vote on Kavanaugh next week, regardless of whether Ford agrees to the GOP's public hearing. And Graham said on Fox News, "She can come if she likes, but if she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to. Kavanaugh will come, I think he will, and we will vote on Wednesday." Now, Grassley himself, however, declined to commit to any timing for a committee vote on Trump's Supreme Court nominee in brief remarks to reporters Monday night as he left the Capitol following a chaotic day of speculation about the future of Kavanaugh's nomination. Now, while the GOP wants to wait to hear about whether Ford will testify, senators are also discussing the use of a third party to question Ford in an effort to make the hearing appear more fair and less political, according to the GOP senator. But Grassley appeared uncertain whether the approach could succeed, quipping Monday night that "I don't know how you shut a senator up if they want to ask questions." And Senator Susan Collins of Maine on Tuesday tweeted that she'll recommend to Grassley that counsel for Ford be allowed to question Kavanaugh and that Kavanaugh's counsel be allowed to ask questions of Ford. And Senator Doug Jones floated the idea of an independent counsel who would ask questions of both Kavanaugh and Ford. And Jones said it would be better to have either counsel for the majority or minority staff that might do this. It could be an independent counsel or designate one or two senators. We don't need 13 or however many senators continuing to pound both witnesses, Jones said. Now, the high degree of uncertainty surrounding Monday's planned hearing has left official Washington on a state of high alert about Kavanaugh. In conversations with associates, one Judiciary Committee staffer puts the odds of Ford testifying before the full committee at 50% and said there was just a 25% chance she'd appear at a public hearing. Now, whether or not Ford agrees to appear, Republicans' initial goal of getting Kavanaugh, a 53-year-old appeals court judge, confirmed in time for the October 1st start of the Supreme Court's term is already in serious jeopardy. Now, asked whether Republicans would agree to a hearing later than Monday if Ford's camp asked for that delay, Grassley said only that he is taking things step by step. And the committee's top Democrat, Senator Dianne Feinstein, questioned why Grassley is limiting witnesses to the committee and argued that the GOP is still rushing the nomination. And she said Chairman Grassley today said there would be only 2 witnesses invited to testify at the Kavanaugh hearing next week on sexual assault allegations. Compare that to the 22 witnesses at the 1991 Anita Hill hearing, and it's impossible to take this process seriously. This is another attempt by Republicans to rush this nomination and not fully vet Judge Kavanaugh. So really interesting article there. We're waiting to see what's going to happen now. Like you guys said, just lots of delays, and she really is trying to stall this process, now calling for an FBI investigation on Kavanaugh when they've already done 6 background checks on him. And getting some more information from you guys right now on Twitter. Thank you so much to Mod Mom for another article about this subject. Really appreciate you. And I am going to share that with you guys real quick. We can kind of get more of a full picture. So the woman accusing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault now wants an FBI investigation. And this is from Fox 2 Now. So in a letter addressed to Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley of Iowa and obtained by CNN's Anderson Cooper 360, Christine Blasey Ford's attorneys argue that a full investigation by law enforcement officials will ensure that the crucial facts and witnesses in this matter are assessed in a nonpartisan manner, and that the committee is fully informed before conducting any hearing or making any decisions. Now, the letter from Ford's lawyers notes that despite receiving a stunning amount of support from her community, she's also been the subject of a lot of death threats, and her family's even been forced to leave their home. And the letter from Ford's lawyers said, "We would like to welcome the opportunity to talk with you and Ranking Member Feinstein to discuss reasonable steps as to how Dr. Ford can cooperate while also taking care of her own health and security." And Ford's attorney Lisa Banks told Cooper, "What we're saying is there should be an investigation because that's the right thing to do." And she said she is prepared to cooperate with the committee and with any law enforcement investigation. And the letter comes after a day of uncertainty about whether the hearing scheduled for Monday would even take place, as Republicans continued to emphasize their repeated efforts to reach out to Ford. Now, last week, news surrounding a private letter that had been sent to Senator Dianne Feinstein, Democrat of California, raised potential questions about Kavanaugh's nomination. Feinstein later announced she'd given the letter to the FBI. On Sunday, the Washington Post published a story that detailed Ford's personal account of an incident that Ford said took place when she and Kavanaugh were both in high school. And Ford alleges that while at a party, Kavanaugh pushed her into a bedroom along with his former classmate Mark Judge and attempted to remove her clothes. She also alleges that Kavanaugh put her hand over her mouth when she attempted to scream. Kavanaugh has denied the incident, and he and Judge both deny being at the party in question. And Kavanaugh said in his statement, "This is a completely false allegation. I have never done anything like what the accuser describes to her or to anyone. Because this never happened, I had no idea who was making this accusation until she identified herself yesterday. I'm willing to talk to the Senate Judiciary Committee in any way the committee deems appropriate to refute this false allegation from 36 years ago and defend my integrity." And the public accusation led Grassley on Monday to announce that the committee would convene next Monday to give both Kavanaugh and Ford the opportunity to publicly testify, as both had indicated a willingness to do so, but now Ford saying she will not testify until there is an FBI investigation done. So Democrats have pushed back on the hearing. All 10 Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee sent a letter on Tuesday to FBI Director Christopher Wray and White House Counsel Don McGahn, arguing that the FBI should conduct an investigation prior to a hearing. And the senators wrote the committees should have completed the report before any hearing occurs, and we ask that you take immediate steps to make sure that we have the FBI's report before we proceed. So going to switch over now. Sorry that played again, but I know some of you really like it, so it's okay. Going to switch over now to the next story of the night. We're going to look into President Trump's declassification order that he made yesterday. So, and this is from the Daily Caller. So President Trump's order to immediately declassify FBI and DOJ documents related to the Russia investigation will provide an unprecedented look into the government's investigation of the Trump campaign. Trump on Monday identified 4 categories of documents for declassification and release. He ordered the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the DOJ to declassify information in a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act application against former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, and he also ordered the release of notes the FBI took during interviews as part of its collusion investigation. And President Trump called on the FBI and DOJ to release a slew of text messages from James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and Bruce Orr. And the White House announcement triggered a scramble to find out when the information will be made public and how far it will go to support Republicans' claims of FBI and DOJ abuse by using the infamous sealed dossier. So here is what we know so far, the Carter Page FISA. So Republicans on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence have pressed President Trump since June to declassify and release 21 pages of redacted materials from a June 2017 FISA application against Page. And Republicans identified pages 10 to 12 and 17 to 34 that should be declassified and publicized. The FBI obtained 4 FISAs against Page from between October 2016 and June 2017, and the DOJ released portions of the applications on June 21st in response to a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. So the applications showed investigators relied heavily on the infamous and unverified sealed dossier to make the case that there was probable cause to believe Page was an acting agent of Russia. In the dossier, which was written by former British spy Christopher Steele and funded by Democrats, accuses Page of meeting secretly in Moscow in July 2016 with 2 Kremlin insiders. And he is also accused of being the Trump campaign's liaison to the Kremlin for the purposes of collusion. Now, Page has repeatedly denied the allegations, saying he has never met with the 2 Kremlin insiders described in the dossier. And House Republicans have hinted at what information is hidden behind the black boxes in the FISA application. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes said July 29th that the American public will be shocked by the material. And Nunes told Fox News' Laura Ingraham on Monday night he believes that 21 pages of the FISA are what FBI agent Peter Strzok was referring to when he sent an August 15, 2016 text message referring to an insurance policy. And he said, I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andrew McCabe's office, that there's no way Trump gets elected, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. And this is what Strzok wrote to FBI attorney Lisa Page. And it's an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before 40. And this is what Nunes said. So Nunes also said Monday that Republicans believe that the insurance policy was specifically what they did that is still redacted. So sources familiar with President Trump's declassification order tell the Daily Caller News Foundation that the Page FISA material will be the first documents released, and Nunes said the process of releasing the FISA is very, very simple, given that President Trump has the authority to declassify any documents he wants. And President Trump also ordered the release of notes of FBI interviews conducted with Orr, the former Assistant Deputy Attorney General, who maintained contact with Steele before and after the 2016 election. Orr's wife, a Russia expert named Nellie, also worked for Fusion GPS, the opposition research firm that hired Steele. And Orr gave at least 12 briefings to the FBI following his interactions with Steele and Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson. And the notes will likely shed light on Steele's thinking while he was investigating Trump's possible ties to Russia. Orr and Steele also exchanged text messages and emails discussing the Russia investigation, and the relationship continued even after the FBI cut ties with Steele just before the election because of his unauthorized contacts with the media. And also, we just got a $20 donation from Kane Zim. Thank you so much for that, Kane, who says, are you going to live stream Ted Cruz versus Beto O'Rourke debate this Friday? Not that I know of, because we will have that rally in Springfield, Missouri on Friday. So I think we will definitely be focusing on that. So also a little bit more from the Daily Caller. So notes of FBI interviews for Page FISA. President Trump's call for the release of interviews used to obtain the Page FISAs was unexpected, but the documents will likely contain a trove of information about how far the FBI went to investigate the Steele dossier. And Nunes appeared to refer to this tranche of records on Monday when he told Ingram that there is exculpatory information that the president has ordered declassified that needs to happen. And none of the allegations against Page in the dossier have been verified publicly. The FBI also expressed medium confidence in Steele's report, according to an internal review of the intelligence. And President Trump has also ordered the public release without redaction of all Russia-related text messages sent by Strzok, Lisa Page, Orr, Comey, and McCabe, and the texts are expected to take the longest to process because of their sheer volume. The DOJ has already released thousands of text messages exchanged between Strzok and Page, and Strzok was removed from the special counsel's investigation in July 2017 because of the anti-Trump sentiments that were located in the text. And also, we are going to take a second to look at all of President Trump's tweets from today. I know you guys love doing the Trump tweets segment. I think it's really fun. So 13 hours ago, he tweeted out, "What will be disclosed is that there was no basis for these FISA warrants, that the important information was kept from the court, and there's going to be a disproportionate influence of the fake dossier. Basically, you have a counterterrorism tool used to spy on a presidential. Also, we just received another $20 donation from Kane Zim. Thank you so much, Kane. Really, really appreciate you for your support. Who says MAGA? Thank you so much, Kane. So also, President Trump tweeted out, so finishing up that last one, campaign, which is unprecedented in our history. Congressman Peter King, really bad things were happening, but they are now being exposed. Big stuff. And he also tweeted out, China has openly stated that they are actively trying to impact and change our election by attacking our farmers, ranchers, and industrial workers because of their loyalty to me. What China does not understand is that these people are great patriots and fully understand that China has been taking advantage of the United States on trade for many years. They also know I am the one that knows how to stop it. There will be great and fast economic retaliation against China if our farmers, ranchers, and or industrial workers are targeted. And he also tweeted out, happy 71st birthday to our great United States Air Force with a short 30-second video. So we're going to take a look at that real quick. Definitely a beautiful, inspirational video that they put out. And I'm going to show you guys the rest of his tweets from today. He said, right now, everybody is saying what a great job we're doing with Hurricane Florence, and they are 100% correct, but don't be fooled. At some point in the near future, the Democrats will start ranting that FEMA, our military, and our first responders, who were all unbelievable, are a disaster and not doing a good job. This will be a total lie, but that's what they do, and everybody knows it. And he also tweeted out a 59-second video. Thank you to our great Coast Guard for doing such a tremendous job. Thousands of lives being saved. And he also tweeted out a picture. Today I took action to strengthen our nation's defenses against biological threats. For the first time in history, the federal government has a national biodefense strategy to address the full range of biological threats. And he also tweeted out that it was an honor to welcome the President of Poland and his wife to the White House. I hope you caught that stream earlier of our press conference that we streamed out from the White House today. And he tweeted out another message about Hurricane Florence.
I just want to thank all of the incredible men and women who have done such a great job in helping with Florence. This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Rarely have we had an experience like it, and it certainly is not good. But the people of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, all of the areas affected, you've been incredible. There's been a loss of life, and may God be with them and their families. That's a tough one. It's tough to understand, but this has been a really difficult period of time for a lot of people. FEMA, the job you've done, the military, Coast Guard, what you've done in saving so many lives has been really something special. Law enforcement, always. Again, I just want to thank everybody for doing such a great job with a very difficult situation. Florence has been a nasty one, a big one, like that area certainly has never seen before. So the waters are still rising. Listen to your state and local authorities. Be patient, be alert, and God bless you.
Definitely an inspiring message there. I like what he said at the end. Be patient, be alert, and God bless you. So also, I am going to take a look at some of the stories that you guys have sent me so far. One from the British Patriot, and this is from Reuters News. And I'll pull it up for you guys so that you are able to see it and read along if you want. That the U.S. Justice Department probes Musk on statement on taking Tesla private. So Tesla Incorporated said on Tuesday the U.S. Department of Justice was investigating Chief Executive Elon Musk's public statements in August that he was considering taking the electric car maker private, the latest and biggest threat to Musk's leadership. And the Justice Department asked Tesla for documents about Musk's announcement, Tesla said, describing it as a voluntary request, and the company said it was cooperating and that the matter should be quickly resolved. Now, the probe by the Justice Department, which can press criminal charges, comes on top of a civil probe by the Securities and Exchange Commission and shareholder lawsuits. Now, the Justice Department declined to comment. Bloomberg reported that federal prosecutors had opened a criminal fraud investigation. Tesla did not say whether the Justice Department probe was criminal or civil. And Musk surprised investors on August 7th with his plan to take Tesla private, tweeting that he had funding secured for a deal that would have valued the company at $72 billion. And in a separate tweet, he wrote, "Investor support is confirmed." Now, Tesla shares rose after this tweet, but investors in the company's bonds and convertible debt were skeptical that the tens of billions of dollars needed for the buyout would materialize. And after 2 weeks of uncertainty, particularly over funding, Musk abruptly abandoned the plan on August 24th, saying it would be even more time-consuming and distracting than anticipated, and that most of Tesla's existing shareholders believe we are better off as a public company. So Tesla's stock, which has lost about 25% since its gains after Musk first tweeted about going private, fell 3.5% to $284.50 on Tuesday, and the SEC has already opened an inquiry into Musk's tweets, according to one person with direct knowledge of the matter, and short seller Citron Research has sued Musk over the truthfulness of his tweet about secured funding, and the SEC has not yet commented on the case. The SEC in the past month has sent subpoenas also to investment bank Goldman Sachs Group Incorporated and buyout firm Silver Lake, as they were hired by Tesla to explore the going private deal, according to the New York Times. So Goldman Sachs and Silver Lake did not immediately respond to a request for comment. And Tesla's biggest institutional investor, Bailey Gifford, said last week it was questioned by the SEC about Musk's plans to take the electric car maker private. And an executive with the asset manager said the chief executive needed help running the company. And Peter Henning, a lawyer who has worked for the SEC and the Justice Department, said any criminal investigation takes this up a level and creates more danger for the company and Musk. And to charge Musk with a crime, the Justice Department would need to show that he intended to manipulate Tesla's stock price, said Henning, who's now a law professor at Wayne State University. So for a civil enforcement action, the SEC would only need to show that Musk acted negligently, which is easier to prove, he said, and the SEC could subject Musk to civil sanctions such as fines, relinquishing improper profits, and a ban on running public companies. Now, if the Justice Department brings criminal charges against Musk and a trial results in a guilty verdict, the 47-year-old billionaire could face jail time in addition to any financial penalties, said Jay Dubow, a former branch chief in the SEC's enforcement division. And Musk's public antipathy to short sellers of Tesla who have sold stock and hope to make a profit by buying it back for less later on may help the government make the case that he intended to hurt them by claiming funding was secured, according to Eric Gordon, who's a professor at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. And Musk said funding secured, which is not a prediction, but a statement in the past tense, which seems like a fact, and this could be a strong case from the government side. So Musk's recent behavior, which has included smoking marijuana during a video interview, has raised concerns about his leadership, with several Wall Street analysts and some investors urging Tesla to appoint a strong second in command. And he has been under intense pressure to prove he can deliver consistent production numbers for the Model 3 sedan, which is crucial to Tesla's plan to become a mass-market automaker. And switching over right now, this is a heartbreaking story from ABC News. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or not. It was not in the mainstream media enough today, but champion college golfer Celia Barquin Azurmeña was stabbed to death on a golf course, and the suspect was charged with murder. So a man with a criminal background was charged with murder just hours after a former Iowa State University champion golfer turned up dead in a pond on a golf course. Colin Daniel Richards, 22, who police has no known address and, according to court records, was kicked out of the grandparents' house a year ago, was charged with first-degree murder in Celia Barquin Azurmeña's stabbing death Monday, and she was only 22 years old as well. So police found her body at Coldwater Links public golf course near Iowa State University in Ames, where she apparently went golfing alone Monday morning. And Richard purposely made statements to an acquaintance recently to the effect of having an urge to rape and kill a woman, according to a criminal complaint made public Tuesday. So Story County Attorney Jessica Reynolds described the killing as a random act of violence during a brief court hearing for Richards Tuesday morning. And Reynolds said during the hearing, the state believes him to be a flight risk, also believes him to be a danger to the community, and the judge granted her request to set bail at $5 million. And she said, it's rare, obviously, it's still very troubling that something like this would happen in broad daylight in a community that is as safe as Ames is. And Richards appeared in court in shackles and made no statements. He was ordered to return to court September 28th for a preliminary hearing. And like I said, this is from ABC News. Attorney Paul Rounds of the Story County Public Defender's Office was appointed to represent Richards. And he said, I hope people reserve judgment until after the trial. And the slaying sent shockwaves from the nation's heartland to Barquin, Arizona's home of Spain, where civic leaders joined residents in a moment of silence at noon on Tuesday. And the Riosin City Council also declared 3 days of mourning for the young woman and released a statement condemning the vile act that took her life. Wow, and we also just received a $50 donation from Cindy Hoffman. Thank you so much for that, Cindy. Really, really appreciate you. And let's see, she says, is he an American citizen? I am going to look into that real quick. So he has no known address, which is really interesting. So he was born in Iowa. And yes, he is an American citizen, according to juryshare.com. Thank you for asking that, Cindy. Really appreciate your question. And yes, it is definitely very sketchy that he has no known address at all. And that is definitely heartbreaking. So please keep the friends and family of Celia in your prayers right now as they mourn her loss. Another heartbreaking death of a college student from Iowa, just like Molly Tippett's. Really, really sad. Don't believe that they're connected in any way as far as we know, but it's still definitely heartbreaking. And on a different note, I wanted to switch it over to a positive story that we actually received from the British Patriot. Thank you so much for this. Really appreciate you. And I'm going to do a quick screen capture so you guys can see a picture of it. So a Hurricane Florence evacuee in South Carolina finds a surprising handwritten note on a windshield. And this is from Fox News. So you can see the note right here. So Ashley Gilland, who evacuated her South Carolina home during Hurricane Florence, shares a photo of the note sent to her from a former Hurricane Irma evacuee. So Ashley Gilland was leaving a Florida restaurant with her fiance when she spotted a piece of paper folded underneath her car's windshield wipers. The 21-year-old from South Carolina, who evacuated the state due to Hurricane Florence, was expecting to find a nasty note about her parking. Instead, she found a letter that nearly brought her to tears. The handwritten note, written by a stranger, offered words of comfort for the Florence evacuee and included a $5 and a $5 bill and a Walmart gift card. And it says, saw your license plate, is from South Carolina. Not sure if you evacuated from the storm, but just know Florida is praying for you and your state. And the letter was signed by a woman named Chelsea. And she said, when we had Irma, we evacuated to Alabama and received a similar letter on our car. Now, Gilland, who's expecting a baby in February, was stunned. She said, I was overwhelmed and automatically started thinking about how I could pay it forward for someone else. The smallest gestures can make the biggest impacts on people's lives. And Gilland and her fiance, David Greer, left their Myrtle Beach home on Wednesday and headed to Sarasota after receiving warnings about Florence, which made landfall near Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina on Friday as a Category 1 storm. At least 17 people, 11 in North Carolina and 6 in South Carolina, have died as a result of the powerful storm, but now, according to the AP, it's 31. So the pair aren't sure how much damage their first floor apartment have had as a result of Florence, but Gilland is remaining positive. She said, I'm hoping for the best. Fingers crossed we don't have any issues. Since the trip was so last minute, we really didn't even pack. We kind of just took all the clean clothes we had and the necessities and hit the road. And when Gilland returns home, she is determined to find a way to spread kindness that she received from Chelsea. She said, I'm going to pay it forward once I get home because I know all of the devastation that has happened there over the past week. Myrtle Beach needs some positivity. And touched by Chelsea's sweet message, Gilland posted a photo of the note and gift on her Facebook page. And she said, this just made my day. I'm so happy to know there are still great people in the world. Always pay it forward. Thank you, Chelsea. I wish I could thank you in person. And eventually, Gilland was able to track down Chelsea and personally thank her for the gesture. And she said, just know. And Chelsea said, just know I did it because I know exactly how it feels to have to evacuate. It's a terrifying feeling, and I've lived in Florida my whole life. That was my first time evacuating, and I wanted to show the same kindness we received when we went to another state. So I might have a couple more stories for you guys before we wrap up, so don't go anywhere yet. And of course, if you have any stories that I haven't shared yet, send them to me on Twitter at Alyssa RSBN. That would be super appreciated. So this is really interesting. Some world news from Breitbart that Kim Jong-un said the summit with President Trump stabilized the region. So North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un credited his meeting in June with President Donald Trump for stabilizing Asia while greeting his South Korean counterpart Moon Jae-in on Tuesday in Pyongyang. So Kim personally thanked Moon for making the Trump-Kim meeting happen and expressed hope for more advanced results in talks with the U.S. without elaborating on how he would define the term. And President Trump has mentioned the possibility of a second in-person meeting in the future to discuss an end to North Korea's illegal nuclear weapons program, and the White House claimed that Kim sent a letter to President Trump requesting such a meeting. And the first meeting in Singapore resulted in the signing of a declaration in which North Korea agreed to work towards the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, but that declaration did not define the term, and North Korea has previously used the phrase to mean a removal of American assets from the region, not an end to its nuclear program. Sorry, I had to communicate with headquarters real quick. So the United States and several non-government organizations have published reports recently suggesting that no evidence exists that following Kim's meeting with President Trump, the North Korean regime has made any material moves to shut down its nuclear program. And Kim greeted Moon upon landing in Pyongyang Tuesday morning with a large hug and throngs of thousands of North Koreans forced to cheer for the dictator and his guest. He thanked Moon for his role in convincing Washington to agree to an in-person meeting, lauding the event as key to stabilizing the Korean Peninsula. And Kim reportedly said, "Thanks to that, the political situation in the region has stabilized, and I expect more advanced results." So the dictator reportedly went on to joke that North Korea was a bit shabby compared to other nations Moon has visited, perhaps urging to highlight Kim's need for foreign investment to sustain the regime. And Moon brought with him to Pyongyang an army of over a dozen South Korean business leaders, including top executives from electronics companies like Samsung and LG, despite unprecedentedly severe sanctions on North Korea's economy. And the business leaders met with North Korea's deputy prime minister, while Moon and Kim met at the headquarters of the Workers' Party of Korea. And Moon responded by applauding Kim for agreeing to the meeting. And he said, "The process has been based on Chairman Kim's decision, and I express my respect for Chairman Kim's determination to open a new era." And prior to his departure from Seoul, the leftist South Korean president told reporters that he hoped the United States and North Korea could resume denuclearization talks in the near future. He said, "My North Korea trip would have great meaning if it could lead to the resumption of North Korea-U.S. dialogue." And Moon added that he felt the weight of a heavy responsibility on both himself and the North Korean dictator to work towards peace, though neither leader specified further than peace what the goal of the talks this week are. And also, I wanted to share with you guys, I told you I was going to do this, but I haven't yet, about really just what goes into our rallies, just how expensive they are, and just some of the logistics as well. I know many of you guys are always wanting to know more details. So I am going to show you some of those real quick. So Joe put this together earlier, and it is a way for you to see some of our travel receipts for going to Vegas and Springfield, Missouri, and just how expensive it's going to be. So here's our receipt for our flights to Las Vegas. Our cameraman and I are traveling, and for both of us to go, it is over $1,000. And for Bailey to fly from San Diego to Las Vegas, it is a little over $300. For Maggie, it is $150. And then our hotel fees. So we're actually staying at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. I know many of you are familiar with that hotel. And this is just for one room. It's $115. We are doing a hotel instead of an Airbnb just because that did come out cheaper this time. And then you can see our car rental and more hotel receipts. $823 for 2 rooms in Springfield. And then $552 for Max to travel from Atlanta to Springfield. And then $201 for those rooms and $247 for those rooms. And to use the live view, I'm going to try to pull this up so you can see it. So to use the live view, daily use of $350 times 2 is $700, and virtual server cost of $375 comes out to $1,075. So it's going to be very expensive to use that live view. And yes, that is transparency. So we really appreciate all of your donations to help us get there. Thank you guys so, so much. And also just got a tweet from Donna Maria that I want to share with you guys. So Kyle Learman posted this on Twitter. It says, "We can all do more to make sure everyone we know is registered and ready to vote November 6th. Join our call with Michelle Obama this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to learn more about When We All Vote Week of Action and how you can get involved." And Donna Maria said, "From me, we need to step up our game. They're using everyone/everything possible to get everyone out to vote. We need to get going if we want to have a red wave. We need every single vote we can get." Yes, Donna Maria, that is so, so true. Thank you so much for sharing that. You guys all need to make sure to get out and vote on November 6th for midterms, and hoping that you already voted for your primaries. So make sure to tune in this week for our rallies. We'll be traveling tomorrow morning. I'm about to wrap this up because I have to finish packing, and I'm heading out of here at 5 a.m. to go to Atlanta and then fly out. So it's just going to be a full day of travel. And then we'll be in Vegas probably in the afternoon, and we'll be doing a pre-rally stream for you guys now. So it's a little different this time. We're doing a pre-rally stream tomorrow night, right, in Vegas. And then the rally all day in Vegas. And then we're actually not doing a post-rally stream because the cameraman and I are flying across the country to Missouri overnight for the rally the next day. So all contest winners are going to be announced Friday night in Missouri. And while we're not doing a post show, there will still be a pre-show from Missouri that Tom and Max are going to do for you guys while James and I are traveling back to Missouri. So it's going to be crazy, but it's going to be so much fun. So please stay tuned, share it with everyone, share our streams on all different forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, whatever you like to use, share us there, Periscope. And we're really excited to bring you guys those rallies. So thank you so much just for the fantastic support that came in tonight. That is definitely going to help us get there. So I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I hope you have a fantastic night, and I'll see you tomorrow night from Vegas. Have a good one.